I recall the first moment I completely grasped the power of the mind. It wasn't in victory, but in failure. Lying on my back, staring at the ceiling of a Hong Kong training hall, I could taste blood in my mouth. My opponent had not only vanquished my body, but also my psyche, even before the first punch was fired. Many people come to me looking for the key of unbeatable fighting. They desire the flawless punch, the unstoppable kick, and the technique that ensures success. I sense hunger in their eyes, the same need I once felt, but I smile because they are looking in the wrong spot. The real battlefield is not the ring, the street, or the tournament floor. True field has arrived. Points to head. Your thinking is your most deadly weapon. Master it, and no opponent will ever completely defeat you. If you fail to control it, you will lose before you ever start. Pay close attention. What I'm about to tell you isn't just about fighting, it's about life. It's about the battle we fight every minute of the day, whether we realize it or not. The struggle between who we are and who we might become, between limitations and possibilities, between fear and liberation. Are you prepared to face your most dangerous opponent? Who knows your vulnerabilities, concerns, and doubts? Who has been defeating you all your life without you even realizing it? I'm referring to the voice inside your head. When chance knocks, the one who says you can't appears, the one that reminds you of previous failures when success is within reach, the one who prioritizes comfort over growth, safety over possibilities, and the known above the unknown. This is your real opponent. And today, I'll show you how to defeat it. As a young guy in Hong Kong, I was arrogant. I thought my kung fu was unbeatable. My methods were flawless, and my speed unrivaled. Then, one afternoon, an elderly fisherman challenged me to a simple contest aboard his boat. There's no combat or techniques, just a cup of water. Empty your cup, he said, pouring tea until it overflowed onto my palms. How can you receive anything new when your cup is already full? That day I received my first instruction in mental combat. Pride is the opposite of growth. A mind blinded by what it believes it knows cannot see what is actually in front of it. In warfare, this is fatal. In real life, it's sad. How many possibilities have you passed up because you were too certain, too rigid, or too confident in your own abilities to realize what was genuinely possible? The fixated mentality has already been conquered. This mind cannot be defeated because it remains adaptable, much like water adjusting to any container. I spent years developing Jeet Kune Do not as another style to emulate, but as a means of breaking free from styles entirely, using no way as way, having no limitation as limitation. This was more than just martial arts theory. It was also the secret to mental liberty. Your greatest strength isn't what you know, but your capacity to let go of what you believe you know, to empty your cup, to approach each situation with what Zen masters refer to as beginner's mind. Consider how frequently your thinking fails you before you even start. You watch someone succeeding and think, I could never do that. You encounter a problem and immediately recall every time you failed previously. You dream of something higher, and your mind rushes to remind you of all the reasons why it is impossible. This is mental defeat, and it occurs not in dramatic but at calm moments, not in the arena, but in the mirror, not when facing an opponent, but when confronting oneself. I recall seeing pupils enter my Kune in Oakland. I could tell quickly which ones would succeed and which would fail, not based on their physical talents, by the ideas written on their faces. Those who came thinking I'll try were already vanquished. Those who came believing I will had already won the first fight. Your thoughts create your reality. Your mental constraints become physical bounds. The voice that says, I can't, guarantees that you won't. But here's what they don't tell you. That voice is lying. It has always been. When I initially came to America, I was advised that I couldn't teach non-Chinese students, that it was not finished, that would be against my traditions. This was a mental cage that people attempted to erect around me, and for a time, I almost embraced it. But then I asked myself, who made this limitation? Is it real or simply a thought? Just a belief? Was it just a story someone told that others believed till it appeared to be true? When confronted with a constraint, the most effective question you can ask yourself is simply, is this real, or is it just in my mind? Most of what keeps us back lives solely in our minds. The limits we think are real walls are often only fog, appearing substantial but dissipating as soon as we pass through them. There's a reason I advise people to behave like water. Water does not consider if it can flow around a barrier. It does not question its nature. It is not afraid of the route ahead. It simply flows, adapting to everything it encounters, never fighting back with force, but constantly seeking the path of least resistance. Your thinking must become like water, fluid, adaptable, unattached to the form, ready to become whatever the situation requires. But how? How do you turn a mind hardened by fear, uncertainty, and limitation into one that flows like water? This is what I'll tell you now. The mental training that converted me from a fighter to a warrior, from technician to artist, from a guy limited by convention to one who could fully express himself authentically. First, you must grasp the three mental opponents that most people face before they even enter fight. I call them the three dragons of the mind, and each demands a unique method to vanquish. The first dragon is named fear. Not only do they dread physical pain, but they also fear failure, judgment, and the unknown. This dragon instills the flames of what if in your imagination, paralyzing you with possibilities that haven't occurred and probably never will. I confronted this dragon early in my teaching career. Standing in front of my first American students, I felt a burning of doubt. What if they reject my teaching? What if my English is not good enough? What if I fail? The method to destroy the dragon of fear is not to battle it directly. Doing so simply strengthens it. To overcome fear, one must confront it head-on and act in spite of it. To sense fear, but nevertheless continue forward. When dread arises in your mind, identify it as a door rather than a wall. Not a stop sign, but an invitation. Not the conclusion of your adventure, but the start of your development. Fear is simply enthusiasm without air. Take a deep breath and step forward. The second dragon is doubt. This dragon is more subtle. It does not stop you with blazing dread, but rather erodes your basis via persistent questioning. Are you good enough? Are you ready? Do you deserve it? Shouldn't you wait till you are more prepared? This dragon defeated me numerous times in the early stages of creating Jeet Kune Do. I would produce first, then ask questions, innovate, then hesitate, move forward, then take a step back. The voice of doubt kept whispering that I hadn't trained enough, prepared enough, or proven enough. The remedy to doubt is resolute action. Not tomorrow, not when you feel prepared. Now, at this moment, doubt cannot withstand encounter with reality. It exists in the space between thinking and action. Close that distance and uncertainty disappears. When you're questioning if you're ready, remember that you become ready by starting. The readiness you seek stems from the action you postpone. The third and most dangerous dragon is attachment. This is the dragon who exhales the fire. This is how it must be done. The one that binds you to what worked previously, who you were yesterday, and the identity you've created for yourself. This dragon almost killed my development as a martial artist. I had grown committed to specific methods, concepts, and ideals about what martial art should be. This attachment blinded me to fresh opportunities and kept me from recognizing what was there in front of me. The cure for attachment is continuous rebirth. You must be willing to let go of who you were yesterday in order to truly live as who you are now. You must empty your cup not just once, but every day. You must be willing to admit, I was wrong, or there is a better way, or what I believed yesterday no longer serves me today. In battle, the combatant who adheres to a single style, method, or identity is easily defeated. The same holds true in life. A mind that clings to the past is unable to accept the future. These three dragons, fear, doubt, and attachment, protect your potential, defeat them, and no external opponent will ever fully conquer you. But how? What practical efforts can you take to exercise your mind as well as your body? I created a mental training technique that revolutionized not only my martial arts, but also my overall approach to life. I've never shared the entire system publicly before, but today I'm going to divulge these techniques to you. The first practice is called Mirror of Truth. Stand before a mirror every morning and evening, not to admire your physical appearance, but to confront your mental state. Look in your own eyes and ask yourself 3 questions. What am I afraid of today? Name your fears specifically. Bring them from the shadows to the light. What am I avoiding today? Determine whatever tasks, conversations, or decisions you are procrastinating due to pain. What am I attached to today? Recognize the ideas, behaviors, or identities you hold that may be impeding your advancement. This exercise appears straightforward, yet few people have the fortitude to confront themselves with such honesty. When gazing directly into your own eyes, deceiving others is simpler than deceiving yourself. The second practice is the empty cup meditation. Find a peaceful area where you will not be bothered. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Imagine your mind as a cup containing all you believe you know, your beliefs, certainty, and assumptions about yourself and the world. Imagine carefully and methodically dumping out that cup. Allow every drop of assurance, ounce of knowledge, and gram of assumption to drain away until your cup is absolutely empty. Sit in the emptiness for 5 minutes, not attempting to fill it, not attempting to study, understand, or grasp anything. Just be present in the empty place you've made. This activity clears the mental canvas. It makes place for new options, perspectives, and understanding. It shifts your thoughts from solid to liquid, from fixed to flowing. The final discipline is what I refer to as intentional discomfort. Every day, consciously put yourself in a scenario that makes you uncomfortable, not physically dangerous, but psychologically hard. If you are afraid of public speaking, try speaking up at a meeting. If you want to avoid confrontation, have the unpleasant conversation. If you're attached to a particular method of training, try something completely new. This technique increases mental flexibility. It educates your mind that suffering is an opportunity for progress rather than a threat. It widens your comfort zone not by imagining what is beyond it, but by actually going beyond it. The fourth practice is mindful movement. This is more than simply physical exercise. It is complete mind-body balance. Choose any movement, a punch, a kick, a kata, or even just walking or breathing, and execute it with complete focus. Feel every muscle contracting. Observe every sensation. Be mindful of every idea that arises. Do not pass judgment or analyze. Instead, simply observe with entire presence. This exercise cultivates the mental trait that I appreciate the most: presence, the ability to be entirely present without distractions. In fight, a brief second of preoccupation can spell defeat. Years of distraction might result in a life not lived. These 4 practices, the mirror of truth, empty cup meditation, intentional discomfort, and mindful movement, lay the groundwork for mental mastery. They are mental katas, or forms that, when diligently practiced, develop not only skill, but also artistry. However, remember that knowledge without application is like food without eating. It provides no nourishment. You must not only understand these practices, but also put them into action, daily, consistently, without excuse. I've seen far too many pupils nod their heads in agreement just to revert to their old habits the moment they leave the quoon. Understanding is not sufficient. Intellectual agreement is not sufficient. Only consistent, intentional action can bring about transformation. Now let me tell you the most crucial reality regarding mental combat. The ultimate goal is not to defeat the mind, but to overcome it. When I say be like water, I don't mean control it, rather I mean become it. Not that you master your thoughts, but that you transcend the idea that a thinker and a thought are different. During my own training, I discovered a condition beyond thinking, a level of pure consciousness in which there is no distinction between me and my movement, intention and action, or self and other. The Japanese call this mushin, or no mind. The Chinese term it wu wei, or non-doing. This feeling was particularly intense for me during a competition in Hong Kong. My body moved without conscious control. My techniques arose without planning. There was no Bruce thinking about fighting. Instead, the fight expressed itself through Bruce. This is the highest level of mastery, moving beyond the intellect rather than perfecting it. Not when you have control over your ideas, but when you identify yourself as the awareness from which thoughts arise and disperse. Like ocean waves, how do you go to this state? Not by reaching for it. This simply pushes it further away. You achieve it by letting go, by abandoning your attachment to the outcome, by giving up your craving for control. by detaching yourself from yourself until just pure awareness remains. In fight, this state is unstoppable, since there is no self to defeat, mind to freak out, or ego to threaten. There is only responsive intelligence in action. In life, this state represents liberation, freedom from the continual barrage of thoughts that tell you who you are and what you can and cannot achieve, freedom from the never-ending cycle of cravings and repulsion, freedom to simply be present in each moment as it unfolds. This is the ultimate goal of mental training, not only a stronger mind, but complete independence from the mind. Not just improved thinking, but the gap between thoughts is where actual power lies. However, don't confuse this for some remote mystical achievement, available only to experts meditating in mountain caves. This state is available to you at this present now. It develops not from adding to your experience, but from reducing the barriers you've created for yourself. The challenges of identifying with thought, the difficulties of connection to the outcome, the barriers of separation between you and life as it unfolds. I recall a student once asking me, "How long will it take me to master these principles?" I laughed and asked him, "How long will it take you to let go of the question about how long it will take?" The path to mental mastery is not measured in time, but in presence. It unfolds not in minutes or hours, but in moments of complete awareness of what is. Not in how much you have, but in how much you're willing to give go. So, where do you start your journey? Not tomorrow. Not when you finish watching this video. Not when you feel more ready, worthy, or prepared. You can begin immediately, in this breath, in this moment of awareness, reading these words. You begin by acknowledging that your mind has been both your most powerful ally and your most fearsome adversary. It has formed and constrained your reality, that it has both encouraged and stifled your growth. You begin by deciding that your mind will serve you from this point on, not the other way around, that you will no longer be a prisoner of your ideas, but a witness to them. Your anxieties should enlighten you rather than rule you. Your doubts do not limit you, rather they motivate you. During my own trip, I had a deep realization: the mind is the ultimate dojo. Every thought is a sparring partner. Every limitation teaches us something. Every moment presents an opportunity to apply the concepts of not only battle, but also aware living. The punches and kicks, the forms and techniques, these were never the focus. They were simply the means by which a deeper truth may be discovered. But you are not your ideas. You aren't your fears. Your limitations do not define you. You are the consciousness from which all of these emerge and disappear. This is the fact that turned me from a fighter into a warrior, a martial artist transformed into a living artist, from someone constrained by customs to someone who could honestly express myself without restriction. This change is available to you right now, not via years of physical training. While that approach has its benefits, not by acquiring more knowledge, although wisdom has its role, but by making the simple but significant decision to no longer be dominated by the thoughts that pass through your head, to stop believing in every fear that occurs, to no longer accept any limitations imposed by society, others, or your own conditioned thinking. The most effective technique I can teach you is neither a punch nor a kick. It is neither a shape nor a method. It is the art of mental liberty, the practice of moving beyond the mind, which has been both your greatest weapon and your most powerful chain. To achieve liberty, ask yourself, who would I be without this thought? This inquiry cuts through uncertainty, complexity, and conditioning. Who would you be if you didn't believe you were unworthy? Without the thought that you must prove yourself? Without the belief that failure is something to be avoided rather than a necessary step towards mastery? Who would you be if you didn't feel the need to change from who you are? Without considering the fact that your worth is determined by your achievements? Without considering whether life is happening to you or for you? In the space generated by these inquiries, a new possibility appears. Not a new concept to replace an old one, but a recognition of the awareness that existing before all thinking. Your true essence, unconditioned and free. This consciousness is like water, formless yet powerful, yielding yet unstoppable, empty but full of possibility. This consciousness is who you truly are beneath all of the identities you've created, the stories you've believed, and the limits you've accepted. True self-expression is enabled by this understanding, not a mechanical repetition of what you've been taught, but an honest representation of who you genuinely are, not tactics performed by a body, but life itself flowing through you freely. This is what I meant when I stated, the key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering, not a life built by the mind to impress others or gather accomplishments, but a life lived from the core of your own self, a life of true self-expression, a life free by the constraints of conditioned thinking. The mind is indeed your most lethal weapon, but like any weapon, its potency lies not only in its strength, but also in how well it is wielded, and most crucially, in knowing when to put it down completely. In the end, the greatest victory is not over an external opponent. It isn't even about mastering your own thinking. It means going beyond the concept of conflict, whether internal or external, to find the harmony that has always been beneath the surface of your experience. This harmony is not something you manufacture. It's something you discover when you stop believing every thought about who you are and what you're capable of. When you cease identifying with the speaker in your head and instead realize yourself as the silence in which that voice emerges. The trip I'm urging you to go on is not simple. It takes guts to confront your concerns straight. Acknowledging your attachments demands honesty. It takes discipline to be present in a world geared to distract you. But this is the only voyage worth undertaking, because without it, you're a prisoner of your own thoughts. It teaches you a freedom that you can never lose, the freedom to be yourself, free of all mental structures and conditioning. So, I ask you now, are you prepared to meet your genuine opponent? Are you prepared to acknowledge how your thinking has confined you? Are you prepared to begin the practice of mental liberation? If your answer is yes, you should know this. The journey starts not with trying harder, but with letting go. Instead of amassing more, release what no longer serves you. Not by becoming someone new, but by discovering who you've always been beneath the layers of thought that have veiled your genuine essence. Become water, my friend, not simply in combat, but also in consciousness, not simply in movement, but also in awareness, not only in technique, but in everyday life. Empty your cup so it can be filled with possibilities. Clear your thoughts so that it can be filled with present. Empty yourself of yourself so that your actual self can emerge without interference. This is the approach to achieve mental mastery. This is the road of the warrior. This is the process of discovering who you truly are, above all limitations, fear, and doubt. The mind is your most deadly weapon, but you're not your mind. You are the awareness from which the mind arises. Recognize this fact, and no opponent, internal or external, will ever truly beat you. The choice is yours, not tomorrow, not when you feel more prepared. Now, at this moment, will you continue to be ruled by your thoughts? Will you acknowledge yourself as the awareness that causes those ideas to arise and dissolve? The warrior's journey is before you, not a road of dominating others, but of releasing oneself. Not a route of perfecting techniques, but of expressing one's inner character. Not a journey of becoming anything other than yourself, but of discovering who you've always been. Walk this journey with your heart rather than your mind, not with thought, but with awareness. Not with effort, but with presence. Become water, my friend. Be aware. Be free. The most important battle you'll ever fight isn't in a ring or on the street. It is a war for your own release from the prison of conditioned thought. Win this battle, and you'll win all of them. If you lose it, no amount of external victory can ever satisfy you. The key isn't to try harder. It's about going further into surrender. Not a surrender to external circumstances, but to the truth of who you are, free of any mental creations. When you fully internalize this reality, you will understand why I said, I fear not the man who has practiced kicks once, but the man who has practiced one kick times. The kick I'm urging you to exercise isn't physical. It's the kick of present awareness, which tears down mental barriers. Practice this one kick in every moment, circumstance, and difficulty you meet, and you'll gain power that no external force can overcome. This is an invitation to you. Instead of believing what I'm saying, put it to the test in the laboratory of your own experience, not to add these concepts to your library of knowledge, but to allow them to erode the very core of what you believe you understand. The mind is your most deadly weapon. However, you are the wielder of the weapon, not the weapon itself. Remember this fact, embrace this insight, and live from this awareness, and you'll discover a power beyond imagination, a freedom beyond notion, and a life without boundaries. Become water, my friend. Be aware. Be free.